Alrighty, well, here we are. The afternoon, mid-storm. 2 more victims. It never ends, my friend. This is only 2 of about 20 ashore.
I'm sure there's plenty of ways for boats to find their way ashore, especially during a storm, but don't worry, the Googans seem to find their way of getting a boat on shore even without a storm, just like some of the things we'll witness in this week's episode of Googans of the Week. Of course, sometimes the Googans will find ways to ground out before they even get the boat in the water, but don't worry, this is actually just the start of this guy's day. And of course, this was the end of it. Now some Googans, instead of running ashore, well, they'll just run into the shore. Of course, sometimes the Googans will just find they have trouble just trying to get ashore. This one right here is pretty hard to explain, as I didn't see exactly what happened for him to wind up in this spot. Only a few things I imagine could have happened. He had to either slip backwards over the gunnel and wind up like this, or maybe he was trying to get off the boat and missed head first somehow. Doesn't make a ton of sense. Let me know in the comments what you think happened. Now speaking of missing and diving in head first, our next crew does exactly that, just in a little different scenario, as here they wind up diving into a cave head first. Not sure I'd be up for this adventure boat ride, especially going this speed, blasting through this. Our next guy decides to dive in headfirst as well. At least our next crew decides to buck the trend and they wind up going over the backside rear end first. This crew right here just decides we're going to dump everybody at once. Now, where do you think things actually went wrong here? Do you think the boat was already taking on water, or was it just so overloaded that by the time they got close enough to the shore, when a few of them moved to the side, that was all she wrote for the boat? Let me know in the comments. Now, while all this crew wound up taking a swim, our next guy is going to try and defy gravity a little bit and try walking on water. Let's see how that plays out. Now, while the ice was just a little too thin for him, this crew right here would give just about anything at this point in time to have a little thinner ice.
Unbelievable.
Now, while our last 2 crews found themselves on ice, some of our crews wind up finding themselves in hot water when they try and approach the ramp and things don't go according to plan. Again, when you're approaching the boat ramp, always take it easy, take it slow, and do movements that are impactful. Go ahead and commit when you're ready to do so. If things don't look right, don't be afraid to go ahead and back out. Now, this crew takes that term a little too far. As we can see here, things don't look right. So they can decide to go ahead and back out. The problem is, instead of backing out, they just back into the dock. Now, there is a little bit of a saving grace for this crew. They are able to get this thing back around and bring it over to the dock and try and get it pulled alongside, but as we'll see, obviously the current is rolling the right way today to make this happen, because we're we're going to see our next crew do something almost identical. Now, fortunately, this crew won't quite get into the dock before it happens, which means they'll miss before they get to the dock. But as we'll see here, they're approaching the dock now, and it's not going to go as planned. Now, I will give them some credit on one part of this. They're definitely following that golden rule of never approaching anything any faster than you're willing to hit it, because they're really not approaching it any speed. The current's pushing them back now, and you can tell they've already kind of missed as the first attempt comes around. But here goes Captain again, back in gear, gonna try and swing it around. Now, you can tell it's a little busy down here, as we got a couple boats waiting behind them. And really what those boats are doing now is you can see one all the way to the left of the screen. You can see one here. Everybody's kind of waiting on this boat in front of them to figure out exactly what they're gonna do. So they do the courtesy thing of waiting while this crew tries to figure it out. But as they're gonna learn really quickly, this crew's not figuring anything out very fast. And even once they do, it doesn't go the way they want it to. Here you can already tell things are going awry. They've come in a little too shallow, and now they're heading straight toward the corner of the dock, which is not the best spot to be in. That's exactly where you're gonna wind up smacking your boat if the current and the wind pushes you in, exactly as we see it doing right here. Now, fortunately, they've got a couple friends on the dock, so they'll get a little bit of a hand from somebody, but as you can tell, the boat's just not wanting to go into the slip. It's wanting to do everything it can to pull back. So Cap here's gonna have to put a little throttle behind it to try and get it around, or we're gonna have to get a couple of these guys out here to try and pull it around. But of course, they do eventually get it worked over and wound up getting it pulled along the slip. But thanks for watching, crew. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Googans of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up over on Facebook or Instagram at Broncos Guru and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button.